I now work one-on-one with my coach Marianne, who's with Run Lab Coaching. She is an age grouper herself. I was at Nailsdorf with her in April, and she is such an advocate for age group racing. And I finally found the courage to approach her and say, first of all, would you consider training me? Because I know she coaches great athletes, and I thought, well, I'm not sure if I'm quite good enough for that. But I thought, well, I'll ask her about age group. I hope she doesn't think I'm a complete fool, but I've been telling everybody this is my goal, so I should probably talk to someone who's doing it. We went and had a coffee and had a chat, and she'd agreed to coach me. And so finally I was going to be coached in multisport rather than just in running.
Yeah.
Because I think that's actually where I needed the support. And she looked at my time from my middle distance race last year and she said, you've got a qualifying time to submit.
And that's the voice of today's guest, Alice Lucas. And Alice reached out after, I think she'd had quite a good experience on a previous podcast and loves doing this sort of thing. It's right up her street. And it was a coach that said she should come on and share her story. And what a journey. From the humble beginnings as a kid, as a ballet dancer, getting into running over the years, and then doing the odd try now and then, until much, much recently where she's stepped up her game, and it's already proved dividends by getting a silver medal at the Middle Distance European Championships. We dive into Alice thinking that her best part of triathlon was a run, when actually she got onto the bike and it quite quickly became clear that that was her strongest leg of the three disciplines. Always preferring the long distance, she's just mentally adept to it, and that transferred over to triathlon when she took up the challenge of the middle distance races and was absolutely amazed when a coach told her that she had actually got a time to put in for qualification for the European Championships. And the rest, as they say, is history. We talk about new bikes, which is quite a hot topic at the moment. We talk about how you train during massive life changes. And as usual, there's the quick fire questions at the end. So I hope you enjoy Alice's story. I certainly had a great time chatting to her and finding out all about her journey. So that's coming up. So welcome to the Age Group Multisport podcast. If it's your first time listening, as you're a friend of Alice's, well, I hope you enjoy it, and there's plenty more to go at. We've been running for 6 years, like I mentioned to Alice, and we've had some fantastic athletes on in those 6 years, so please do go back and review some of the other episodes. Well into summer now. I hope your training and racing's all going to plan. Ours here, unfortunately, isn't. Me and Mrs. C are still not running. Yeah, it's a barrel of laughs in our house. Mrs. C with a bursite and me with a tendinopathy at the back of my knee. Neither of us are running and it's starting to show. But we did get out on Sunday together and had a nice ride. But I've backed off completely the last few weeks and literally just spinning on the bike now, no hit sessions or anything. I haven't ran for, I can't remember the last time I put a pair of trainers on. And yeah, the swimming's coming on really well though, so that's a bonus. And we're doing the obligatory strength training to try and cajole this knee back and get the legs bulletproof. And if you're interested in seeing what exercise that I'm actually doing to try and do that, you can find a video that I've made on our YouTube channel, the Age Group Multisport Podcast YouTube channel. And 7 exercises that I'm doing religiously 3 times a week, and it's starting to work, so that's good news. As always, a couple of podcast recommendations, and the first one is from Tri. Now it's a bit unusual because they've got a guest speaker on, and that guest speaker is well-renowned world running coach Bobby McGee. And Bobby's talking about his 4-level framework helping endurance athletes move beyond outcomes, moving beyond outcome-based goals and focusing on the daily habits and the process that drive the long-term success. Really interesting podcast and such a knowledgeable guy, and it was interesting to hear him speak about something other than the running style. So yeah, give that one a listen. And then the second one was the Simon Ward podcast, and he was talking about cholesterol. That's close to my heart, having had a heart attack about 12 years ago and been on medication ever since for cholesterol. It was interesting to hear their take on actually what is being measured and is it the correct thing that we're looking at and have been for all these years. So a really interesting podcast, even if you're not into heart health for yourself, you've not had any issues, but you probably do know somebody who has had a heart attack or some heart health problems, because it's one of the biggest killers in the country. So have a listen to Simon Ward's podcast about cholesterol and his journey about taking statins. Really worthwhile, even if you haven't got any heart issues at the moment. And then what we've been watching sport-wise lately, well, there's absolutely loads going on. We've got the World Cup, and England, to my shock and surprise, is still in it after a fantastic performance against Mexico to get them to the next round against Norway. I haven't been watching the matches live, I've got to say, far too late for me. I've just been catching up on YouTube. And then also there's Wimbledon going on, and I've not watched any of it because it doesn't really interest me, but that is available also. The latest Diamond League round was over in America. It was a great meeting. There's a few Brits there, Keely Hodgkinson and Georgia Hunter-Bell in the women's 1500 and 800, Dina Asher-Smith in the women's 100, and none of them did particularly well. I don't know whether it was because of the travelling over to the United States, but yeah, not great results, but it was a great meet. And then we've been watching the Tour de France. We're on day 4 as I'm recording this, and it's been phenomenal already. The battle's got out straight away with Jonas Vingegaard taking the yellow jersey on stage 1 team time trial, and then Tadej Pogacar getting his teammate Del Toro a win on the second stage. And then the third stage he won himself and took the yellow jersey off Vingegaard, and that's the way it's going to go, I think. But exciting, and today's stage 4, another mountainous stage with a flat finish. So it's probably a day for the breakaway, but exciting 3 weeks ahead. Can't wait for this. And that's about it. So we're going to get into the main event now, and I hope you enjoy Alice's story, and we shall, as always, see you on the other side.
Hello, how you doing?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Very well.
Fantastic. Good stuff.
Thank you for to do this.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for rearranging when I was having a bit of a nightmare this week. Life has been totally upside down for the last month or so. I've tried to do too much, but here we are.
Well, it's tough, isn't it? When like you said, you've moved, you've got a new job, you've got kids, you try to train as well. It's hard. It's not easy.
It's challenging. So yeah,
absolutely. And everybody that comes on has the same issue, because we all work, we do this for fun, and so it's not a problem. It never is. When people can't make certain slots, that's absolutely fine. So I'm just glad that we could finally get to meet face to face and get this done, because I think I can't do this without you guys. So again, thanks for agreeing to come on and sharing your story, and I'm sure you're going to inspire listen to it.
I certainly hope so.
Whereabouts are you in the world?
I live in Bath.
Right, nice part of the world.
Yes, it's a very nice part of the world. Moved here 5 years ago. And yeah, I'm very, very happy here.
Good. And you've obviously got yourself into running in a tri club, have you, there?
Yeah, so I was always I started running like very recreationally to lose weight actually when I was 18, and never really took it particularly seriously. And then when I lived in London, dabbled with a running club and wanted it to be a tri club, but it wasn't. My dad was a triathlete and
Yeah, I saw that in your email. Yeah,
inspirational. Yeah,
yeah.
so inspirational
What
to
a great
me.
role model to have. I know we'll get into all that, but
I'm diving ahead, but
no,
yes,
no.
anyway,
It
doing
was
the
the
tri
question.
like
It was the question I asked.
I love talking. I love people. I love the sport. And my coach had seen your post, I think, on the age group chat or age group something, and was like, Alice, you should like you love doing these things. I just done a podcast, a business podcast, and I had a really great time. Very different to this. Like, wore my nicest work clothes, high-heeled shoes, came out once in the blue moon and all that. We were sitting down. Why do you need to be wearing high-heeled shoes when you're sitting down? But it makes a good impression. So she was just like, go for it. You love this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
here
well,
we are.
again, like I said, it's people like you that we need to keep this going. I've been doing this for 6 years now,
Okay.
and I do put the odd post out when I'm getting a bit low on guests. But there was a period of 3 weeks where I didn't have anybody, and that was the first time ever that I couldn't get hold of any guests.
Gosh. Okay.
Luckily, that's it's just a blip. 6 years,
Yeah,
I've not done bad. You know what I mean? So I can't complain.
absolutely. Well, I
Um,
think our club's brilliant. So I'll make sure we put a bit of a shout out because
yeah, that would be cool.
for quite a small, there's like 100 of us in the club, and
Yeah,
at least 20% are age groupers, which I think is
that's
quite a
really
big
yeah.
contingent. Bath is somewhere that does attract pretty good athletes. I think because a lot of people, if they study here, it's a great sport university, so the facilities are brilliant. But we're all just quite an ambitious lot, and it's quite fun. It's infectious when you're around people like that. And again, I'm probably now jumping into
No, no,
content.
you're 100% right. I mean, that's why we surround ourselves by like-minded people, don't we? Because we need that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always like, a bed of roses. Sometimes you need that lift, and being
Oh
surrounded
yeah.
by other people that,
Yeah.
are at a high or whatever at a
Yeah.
certain time when you're at a low, it counts for a lot. It means a lot. So,
I love.
and thank you once again for agreeing to come on the podcast and share your story. If you'd just like to introduce yourself, yeah, we'll take it from there.
Pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Alice Lucas. I am a triathlete, mainly middle distance, although dabbling this year in some long distance, and I live in Bath.
We will get into this when we get into the triathlon, but we'll just touch on your middle distance and long distance. Is that your preferred distances then after your experiences of like being in triathlon? Is that what you like?
Yes, although TBC on the long distance, I'm doing my first one the end of this year. I did quite a few standard distances and find that I've not quite got the pace to keep up. And I always thought long distance running was always my favorite. And I thought, hang on a second, I reckon middle distance could be the thing for me. And so I decided before entering one that it would be my favorite distance. And it turns out that I was right. Um, so I think when I first started working with my current coach, I said to her, I run 5K at the same pace I run a half marathon. She was like, don't be ridiculous. That can't be right. And then she asked me all my PBs and she said, oh yeah, you weren't far off. And I seem to be able to find a pace and hold it, but I've not got that real sort of snappy, zesty, fast twitch muscle groups that some people seem to thrive on.
Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, we're all individual, and you've got to find, and I always say this every episode, you find what works for you, and that's the beauty of multi-sport is there's always something, whether it's a different discipline or whether it's a different distance. There's masses to go towards to go at.
Absolutely.
So yeah, right. So what did you do growing up as a kid then, Alice?
Um, For starters, a lot of maths. I was a geek and I loved it. In fact, I was probably one of the least popular kids in school because I used to ask for extra maths homework because I enjoyed it so much. And the teacher said, well, if Alice can do more homework, everyone can do more homework. So you can imagine how many friends that made me. Um, but as on the sport front, I did ballet. I've got a younger sister, and my mum loved us to do ballet. So I was the kind of chunkiest ballerina in the room. Was my mum used to call me a baby elephant, it was never going to go well. But my dad was always a runner and a triathlete, and I always looked at him and thought, that's mega. He'd cycle everywhere, and so we'd go out as a family on the bikes at the weekend, and there was something in me that sort of loved that. But I also loved the friends that I got at ballet, and sort of that was my biggest hobby really, outside of the maths homework. And I didn't actually start properly running until I was a teenager, sort of late teens. Um, quite liked going to the gym by this point, and I thought running's free and it's
Yeah.
outside. I love being outside, loved an adventure. So just really found the bug. And so that's what got me into triathlon really was kind of realizing that running was quite fun. Started racing, started collecting medals, really liked the medals.
Did you join a club then, a running club?
I didn't. I knew of a couple of local ones. I was a bit too intimidated, to be honest, that I
Right.
wasn't going to be good enough, that I was probably too chubby or too this or too slow. And I'd run with my dad and his best friend Steve. I loved running with Dad and Steve. We'd go around the local village, we'd do the local 10K, which to this day is one of my favorite races in the country. And I just really enjoyed it. Found some friends who like running, and there was nothing more serious than that about it.
Yeah.
Until one day, a friend said to me, "Do you fancy doing a novice triathlon?" And I thought, "Cool, that sounds fun. I've got an old mountain bike. I think I can swim. This sounds great."
And what
And
age were you there, Alice?
20s,
Right.
can't exactly remember, but early 20s.
And was it a local event?
It was a local event, local leisure centre. Can't remember the distance. It was sprint, but I can't remember the exact distances. It wasn't a sort of an official sprint, but if my memory recalls right, it was a pool swim. It was a road bike, not a mountain bike, but and I remember squeezing my brakes for dear life down a gentle hill towards a marshal who was saying, "It's clear, come on, it's clear." And I didn't trust her enough, so I fully stopped, had a peer around both sides, safe to go, and away I went. And then loved the run at the end. Came third in my age group, got a little trophy, which is on my mantelpiece in the kitchen. Loved it, smashed it, thought this is cool. And then it was about 10 years before I did another one.
Wow. Wow. And why was that then? Did you did you just not find any more, or
I
obviously
think
life does take over, doesn't it?
I think I was at that kind of age where I wasn't taking sport particularly seriously. My friends, apart from this one friend who I'd done the triathlon with, my friends weren't particularly sporty, and there was plenty of other stuff to be going on. I had a full-time job by this point. I ended up then just doing more running races. I loved half marathons, so I'd just find as many half marathons to do as I could, and ended up doing a bit of traveling, not a huge amount of traveling, but spent a few months in Australia, found a half marathon out there. I'd always sort of cling on to the running because all you needed was a pair of good shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't need
So
to
easy,
carry
isn't it?
kit
Just
everywhere.
put your trainers on and that's it.
Absolutely.
So from a training point of view, again, were you just making it up as you went along on your own? No coaches or no club?
Didn't think about it. Didn't cross my mind that I might need a coach or even I might want a coach.
But you quite clearly didn't at that point in your life, did you? I mean, it wasn't necessary. You just enjoyed the thought of putting your trainers on and going out and running, which is
Yeah.
great, isn't it?
It is, and sometimes I wish I could still do that. My
Yes.
sister, who I love dearly and is an epic runner, doesn't, she's got my old Garmin. I think she's used it twice. She's never bothered to time anything. She just goes for a run because she wants to go for a run. And I think that's incredible. Imagine the freedom you could feel if you could do that.
I can only dream about that, to be honest.
Yeah, even in my early days, I had oh, I can't remember what it was called, a little Nike thing that velcroed into your laces. You could buy the Nike shoes where
Mm.
it would like plug in the sole, or you could velcro it to your laces, and it was basically a pedometer.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go out for a run without finding out something about it. And I had a really well, early-ish Garmin, and actually talking to Dad about how he used to race in basically plimsolls in an old just digital Casio. And he always says his marathon PB was 2 hours 56. And he said, but it was probably more like 2 hours 46. But I wanted to add a chunk on to make sure I'm not cheating myself because I don't actually know what it was because no one
Yeah.
was really timing it those days. And I
Yeah.
thought, that's quite refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it must, like you said, it's all bogged down now these days with technology and computers and this and that and the other. And it's just to go out and just go out for a bike ride or just for go for a swim or just a run and just not have any data and don't even put it on Strava. That's quite liberating, I think.
Absolutely. I've not mastered that just yet.
No, I haven't
But,
either.
but no, back in the day, no club, no coach,
Yeah.
just me, loved it.
Yeah. So you were into the longer distance though by that point.
For sure. On the running side, I didn't really start cycling until sure I call myself a cyclist. I am. This year is probably the first year I've actually done quite a lot of cycling.
Yeah.
So very much long distance on the running front. And then when I moved to London in 2013 and did join a running club. Kind of wanted it to be a triathlon club. So I don't know what flipped in my brain at that point, but I thought I want to start doing triathlons again. I think I could necessarily ride a bike, but after all that time, especially living in London where traffic's quite frightening. But thought this is a challenge I'm up for. So joined the Clapham Chasers, which were my local club. Huge number of people, some extremely talented athletes. And I remember one of my early track sessions, they said, we're going to put you into groups. I thought, great. They said, if you're sub 15-minute 5K pace, you're in group one. And I thought, okay, so 15, 18, 23, 25, whatever. And they said, if you're 15 and a half to 16-minute 5K pace, go into group two. And I thought, oh, there's going to be a lot of groups. And there were six groups. I was in group 20-minute plus, and I was running about a half an hour 5K at this point and thought, oh, I don't think I'm in the right place. And I think there were three of us girls at the back, just not even trying to hold on, just very much surviving at our ploddy pace around the track. But I PB'd park run every week for about 2 months just by going to this one track session and realizing some structured coaching could make quite a difference.
And also running with and being around faster people
Yeah,
brings you on, as well as the coaching. It just does. It's almost like magic, isn't it? That you go and run with or swim or bike with faster people.
yeah,
Eventually, I'm not going to say that you're going to get as fast as they are, but you do come on.
yeah,
And I think it's
absolutely.
it's the consistency probably rather than anything else. As long as you're consistently training towards something, then you're going to improve, aren't you?
Absolutely. And I think that's what I've loved about it, seeing the improvements over the years, particularly our local half marathon, the Bath half, which I love. Every year I've done it, I've got a little bit faster. And it was about 2 years ago, I suddenly thought to myself, I've done all this with the greatest respect, without really trying, without any structured trying. I run a lot and I cycle a tiny bit, normally on holidays to Mallorca where tarmac's nicer, the climate's nicer, drivers seem to be more aware of bikes. So I do my token week of cycling and I just thought, okay, you're getting fitter. What could you do if you had some structure around what it is you're trying to achieve? Um, and that's when I first thought, okay, could coaching, one-on-one coaching, as well as joining a club and then having the one-on-one coaching could potentially be something for me.
Yeah. So was that one-on-one coaching for triathlon or just for running at that point?
So I ran the London Marathon by some fluke. I got a ballot spot in 2024. So I decided middle of 23, I'd see if I could find a running coach. And I worked with Laura Waitman, who was brilliant. I worked with her across Zoom, and she wrote some good programs for me. And we got me through the London Marathon with quite a horrendous injury.
What was the
Um,
injury?
from lazy glutes and not stretching, managed to pull my groin, which then ran down to my hamstring, which resulted in a really dodgy left knee. And I was just very wonky for a long time. Had amazing physio and really, really rehabbed. Did most of my long distance training on the bike indoors. So I was on the turbo for hours and then would do short runs on tired legs as kind of a bit of a method, which really worked.
Mm.
Um, couldn't really walk straight before the marathon and kind of thought this might not be the best plan, but just wanted to give it a bash. And I remember standing on the start line thinking, I can either run this to my pace plan and see what happens, or I can run walk it and enjoy myself. And I thought, let's go with the pace plan. So I was just trying to sub four. I had not done it before, and I thought this could, let's give it a whirl. And I thought, well, you can't pace it for 4 hours because it's London and there's lots of people. Let's pace it for 3:57. And I ran 3:57:20 something, and my brain ran that entire race. My brain fueled it, my brain ran it. My legs and nothing else had an option. But I then couldn't walk for about 3 months. It was absolutely horrific. It took me about half an hour to get up the steps to the tube station to get back to my sister's place where I was staying. It was horrific, but we did it.
So you're one of those people who are walking backwards down the stairs for
Pretty
weeks.
much. Yeah. And I was mortified because I thought people would think I just found the marathon really hard. And in fact, I didn't find the marathon that hard. I just got an injury that I probably shouldn't have run on. And I also hated it. I would
Yeah.
never do London again. Horrendous. Too many people, too loud, too many people walking on the blue line. I lived in London for a decade. We didn't get around the nice bits. It was kebabs and all sorts on the way, and I just thought there's nothing magical about this atmosphere. And I know that's quite controversial, but I'm
Very
really,
controversial. Yeah.
really not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got to say, these big events, um, although I do this podcast and I do other things, I'm I'm not a big fan of like crowds, and I'm a bit of an introvert, if that
Yep,
makes sense. And I
yep,
can't think of anything worse. And it's not necessarily running amongst all that people. It's the waiting that you've got to do before it, and all it's just too much for me. So I'm with you. I would never want to do the London Marathon. Somebody could give me a free place, and I think I would turn it down because
yeah.
it's just. And I think all these big events, it's the same. It's not for me. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Absolutely. It just it wasn't the one for me. I did Valencia the same year, and that is busy, but don't know if I'm allowed to say this out loud, better organized.
Yeah. Well, you can say
And
what you like on the podcast.
I suppose they're trying to lynch me if they listen to it.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful. Also, December in Valencia is beautiful. It was wonderfully supported because there were patches of no one, so you could kind of collect your thoughts, and then there was all of a sudden a lot of people, and then you sort of it buoyed you rather than being this constant wall of noise. And wasn't so well trained, but also wasn't injured, so it was a pretty similar time. But it was after that that I started to think, okay, how much running do you want to do, and then how much triathlon do you want to do, and actually what does your structure look like?
Mm.
And a very good friend of mine was my PT at the time, is an ex-Olympic, no, once Olympian, always Olympian. She's an Olympic gold medalist,
Olympic gold
Amy
medalist.
Williams. Um,
Sorry, who?
Amy
Sorry.
Williams
Right. In what
in
sport?
skeleton.
Okay.
So she won in Vancouver, and she's fantastic, wonderful, wonderful lady. And like I said, very good friend now. But I sat on in her gym in a coaching session and said, I want to be in the GB age group team. And she was like, okay, how much triathlon have you done recently? I said, none. Right. I said, well, this is how we set goals. We set the big audacious goal. We draw a line under it, we throw it out the window, and we work backwards from there. So how do you get into the team? You qualify. How do you qualify? You find the qualifying events. How do you get to them? You enter them. But what happens before that? You train for them. So we worked out, probably would help if I joined the triathlon club, and probably would help if I had a triathlon coach, and sort of started to piece things together. And I just told anybody who would listen that I was going to make the team. And I just believed it. More than anything I've ever believed in my entire life, I believed I was going to be in the GBH group team. And I just started trying harder.
Did you find out about the triathlon? Because at this point, how many triathlons had you done since your first one?
Couple,
Yeah.
I'd sort of dabbled over the years.
Right.
Um, I knew a very good friend of mine was in the team back when she was in her 20s, her and her
Ah, okay.
brother. Um,
So
Knockout cardio
you've known
person.
about it a long time then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah, okay.
Um, yeah, knew about them, and then I knew, so I sort of, I'd half joined the local tri club. I was
How do you half join a
You sign
triathlon?
up and you don't go.
Oh, right. Okay.
I remember going to one of their social runs. I mean, the club's fantastic. They are the greatest group of people on this planet. I genuinely don't know how just some of like life happens, right?
Yeah,
Things get
absolutely.
in the way of every day. And every single time something's happened in my life in the last couple of years, it's been a challenge. That triathlon club have picked me back up. And I'm surrounded by the most wonderful human beings who are so generous with their time and their support. And a bunch of us are doing the Cotswold 113 in a couple of weeks. And the cheer squad, there are more cheerleaders going than there are triathletes. I hear there's a flag. Last year there was a trumpet. Not joking, best club in the world. So I joined, and there's a Friday evening social run, and I'd psyched myself up to go to this Friday evening social run. I thought, okay, I'm gonna go. How am I gonna know how am I gonna know who's running and who's just at the pump? We were meeting at like a pub on a high street in town. How I'm not going to know who the people are, and I was terrified. I nearly didn't go. I was 15 minutes early, even though I knew it was only a mile from my house. For some reason, something could have happened to me on the
You
way. So
need to warm up, don't you, really?
sure. So I sheepishly walked around the block, and then we're the Bath Amphibians is the name of the club, and so we've got a lot of frog logos, bright green t-shirts, and one of the chaps, Mark, who'd organised the run that evening, turned up in his bright green frog t-shirt. He said, I knew there was someone new coming, so I wanted to make sure that they felt, they could know who we were. And I thought, okay, I found the right people. Did a great run, a few of us that evening, and then probably didn't go to a session for 6 months because I just found it quite intimidating.
Really?
Not because of them, but because I just wasn't sure how I was embarrassed to go to cycling, I was embarrassed to go to swimming. Running seemed to be okay. But I knew there were a lot of age groupers in the club.
Right.
I was also embarrassed to join the club WhatsApp group because I knew that there was an age group chat, and I thought you're not allowed in the chat unless you're on the team. Nonsense, anyone can join the chat to find out. That's the purpose of it, to talk to people. And now work one-on-one with my coach Marianne, who's with Run Lab coaching. Um, she is an age grouper herself. I was at Nailsdorf with her in April, and she is such an advocate for age group racing, and I finally found the courage to approach her and say, first of all, would you consider training me? Because I know she coaches great athletes, and I thought, well, I'm not sure if I'm quite good enough for that. Um, but I thought, well, I'll ask her about age group. I hope she doesn't think I'm a complete fool, but I've been telling everybody this is my goal, so I should probably talk to someone who's doing it. We went and had a coffee and had a chat, and she'd agreed to coach me. And so finally, I was going to be coached in multisport rather than just in running,
Yeah.
um, because I think that's actually where I needed the support. And she looked at my time from my middle distance race last year and she said, you've got a qualifying time to submit. I said, what? I've been telling people all this time that I want to qualify. I didn't realize I already had.
And so why did you not know the process then to be able to become?
I think I roughly knew the process, but I think I thought I was so far behind where the benchmark, the 20% for middle distance. I found it quite confusing actually on the BritTri website because standard you have to go to a qualifying event. So that was
Yeah.
abundantly obvious for me
Yeah.
that it was you had to pick your event. And I'd really looked at the events, and T100 in London was one of them last August. And as discussed, not such a big fan of London. And I'd heard that T100 course gets really, really crowded. So I thought, I'm not sure that that's, and also London, competitive environment, going to be loads of great athletes. I don't think I'll probably make it this year. So not, and plus standard distance, not for me. So then I kind of figured that maybe middle distance, it just seemed to be you have to do one and then you submit your time. So I did the race thinking, right, well, I'm going to try and qualify in this. And it was truly humbling. It was my first middle distance, and the swim was fine. I'm not a particularly brilliant swimmer, so it was fine. The bike course was great, but there were a couple of challenges. There was a horrible crash, which was thankfully I think the lady was okay, but it meant we all had to stop, get off the bike, and walk around. We lost a few minutes there, and horrific headwinds, which affected everybody. But
Mm.
I wasn't a hugely strong cyclist, so the bike was fine. And then there was the run. I thought running was my strongest. Half distance is my marathon. Half marathon is my distance. I thought it's going to be easy. It's going to be fine. First lap, it was 3 laps run course. First lap was fine. One particular marshal, we had our names on our badges. The marshal said to me, "Oh, looking strong, Alice. Great pace, Alice." I thought, yeah, he's right. This is a great pace. Then next lap, he looked at me. He's like, "Still strong, Alice. Looking great. Good pace." I thought he's flattering at this point, but okay. Third lap, I ran past him and he went, "Just keep going, Alice." And I thought, yeah,
Brilliant.
okay, my face is telling a story. So I ran around the course. I got to the end of the third lap. I'd stopped looking at my watch at this point because I just thought I didn't care. I was hoping for a sub 6, but I honestly couldn't care less. I'd really tried, but all I wanted to do was finish.
Mm.
And my best friend was on the finish line and he said to me, "Have you got any idea what you've just done?" So I was like, "Yeah, triathlon." He's like, 5:59, you just came in 6 hours. I was like, oh,
That's
cool.
brilliant.
So that, and yeah, he was there having kittens
Yeah, yeah.
because he knew how much I wanted to come in under six, and I hadn't quite, hadn't quite snuck it. But anyway, um, so
That's
and
awesome.
because and yeah, I just thought, oh, the fast people were so fast. They weren't stuck behind the crash. They weren't this. They weren't that. I thought I'm pretty confident. I don't know why I didn't do the maths, but it wasn't until I sat
Yeah,
down.
because you like maths.
I do love maths. So actually, it was an opportunity to do some calculations.
And that's what got me to thinking that not looked at other people's times because you've just said about London. This qualification lark is a very technical, tactical. What distance you're racing in, whether it's standard, middle, long, it's about the course, it's about who else is going to be racing there. Very tactical, and I thought you're quite astute there. So it surprises me because you mentioned about London. It surprises me that you didn't, and being a mathematician, that you didn't look at people's qualifying time, so you knew where you were going to be.
Yeah, no, it surprises me too in hindsight, especially because I was so desperate to make the team.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm genuinely astonished. But it was a lovely surprise when we sat down, I think last October, a couple of months after the race, and said, you've got this qualifying time. Now, triathlon was way oversubscribed at the time for this year, but duathlon was available, and she was like, "Cool, we're going to go to Germany." I was like, "What?" It was
Duathlon.
quite the coffee date.
Well, yeah, you like running, so duathlon's right up your street. Although you do know it is harder.
Jury's out. I don't know. It's
No, no, there's no jury out there. There's no jury to be discussed. Discussed. It is harder.
fine,
Yeah, duathlon is harder.
noted.
Anybody can swim, and the swim's the shortest part of a triathlon.
True.
You've got to run twice.
You do have to run twice.
Even if you like running, it's still harder.
It is tough. And it's one thing I've established since training with Marianne, and this really shocked me, is that I'm actually quite a good cyclist. And I do not look like a runner. I'm a stocky, big-legged cyclist.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until someone said to me, "You are a cyclist," that I thought, oh, does that mean I could get good at it? And then I started doing a lot of work through the winter on the turbo, then found some courage to get onto the road since the weather's been a little bit better this year. And I've done more kilometers on the bike in the last 6 months than I probably have in the last 5 years, accumulatively. And actually, I am loving it. Currently trying to find a TT bike that suits me because I've got to find, again, courage, got to find some bravery to get into the aero position to get faster and really start to compete. Run is actually probably my weakest discipline, it turns out. As much as I love it, I'm not that fast. And I'm certainly, having done duathlon recently, I I don't think I'm ever going to get my run as fast as some of the girls out there, but I can put a good effort in on the bike. And if I'm doing that on a road bike, I think I could put in some serious effort on a TT bike. If I can get comfortable, I can get confident. So
It's a completely different world. You take some time, like from an ability, because you've probably got the ability, but just getting used to the position.
yeah,
And because it's not like riding a bike, but you are riding a bike, getting in. But you need to be in a position where, yeah, you're aero, but that's not the main thing. You need to be comfortable and
yeah,
happy on the bike. That would
yeah.
be, and a bike that fits you. Those are the most important things. And then everything else will just come because you'll be faster, you'll be more aero, and hopefully you'll love it.
Yes, the hopefully I love it is the bit that I'm keeping my fingers most crossed for, because actually if I can get brave enough to get on it and then get it up, we've got the luxury of having a racetrack close by,
Yeah.
which is traffic free, that I love cycling around. So I know there's somewhere I can go and
Yeah,
sort of
yeah. That's
really get
that's
used to something
perfect, isn't it?
without being frightened.
Yeah. What I've suggested and what we've done, Mrs. C's also into triathlon, and I don't know whether you can see, we've got our TT bike on the turbo.
Yeah,
So that, and I vlog, I do a YouTube channel, and while I was vlogging, I was just thinking, I was out the other day on the TT bike, I took it off the turbo and went out and did a ride. And I was just thinking, when I'm outside, I can easily get down and stay in that position for however long. if I'm inside on the turbo, like today, I've just come off a sweet spot session. I really struggle. I just cannot stay down on the turbo. But yeah, we've got that on the turbo just for that purpose, so you get used
Yeah.
to it. So that
Yeah.
might be something. And I know people say, "Oh, you shouldn't put your carbon frame on a turbo," but yeah, I would definitely do that.
I've heard mixed things in that. So I've been told that and I've been really frightened because I love my road bike and I don't want to break it. But equally, you see pros all the time who probably have 30 versions of the same bike,
Yeah,
perhaps not 30, and very much are sponsored by their bikes, so I know they can get a new one. But they all seem to have their
yeah,
actual bikes on turbos
yeah,
because
yeah,
you want the feeling of the bike you're actually going to be riding.
100%.
So I think that's going to be a big part of my next
Yeah, because
step.
you can get your position dialed in and you can get comfortable and you
Mm.
get used to the bike and the position
Yeah,
being safe, but you've got
yeah,
the track as well, so that's cool. So you've got
yeah,
best of both worlds there.
definitely.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's definitely the next upgrade. If I can keep working out how to get as fast as strong as possible, and keep up with some more structured coaching,
Yeah.
I think I'm only just scratching the surface.
Oh yeah. I mean, you've only just started.
Yeah,
I mean, your
yeah,
potential, and you say, well, I might not get faster on the run, but I think you will if the consistency's there. Your fitness will get better, and you'll find that it transfers across from the bike getting fitter and better to the run. You know,
yeah.
it just will. You'll just
Um,
get fitter. This is I'm not saying complete starting point, but you know what I mean? It's your entry point in. It's you're going to get better and better, I would imagine.
well, I hope so, and I also need to because I've just gone up an age group, and I've gone from a quite hesitant to say easy age group, but less saturated age group to a very competitive age group. And I'm going to need to get more competitive if I'm going to be
Yeah.
competing with these women because there's some real talent out there, some real speed, which there is in my last age group, but there were just less of us.
Mm,
So moving into this really competitive field, the only way to be up there is going to be to get stronger, to get more consistent, and to get faster.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, it's all exciting, isn't it? It's all new. So
Yeah, it is. And it's such a fantastic thing to focus on. It's such an exciting sport to take part in. And the community is epic. Like I said, my club is full of just some of the most incredible people, um, socially and from a sport perspective. There's always somebody doing something. We're spoiled for choice. Tonight, I know that there's a bike ride happening and the usual Thursday night swim set. And I've got FOMO that I can't make the bike ride because I'm going to the swim set. And that's pretty cool for a relatively small city like Bath
mm.
to have that much going on with just such an epic group of people is fantastic.
You established how you found out about age group
Mhm.
and that you set yourself a goal to become an age grouper. So how did it go?
So once I found out I'd got a qualifying time, I'd missed Q1 for everything, I think, for this year. But the European Duathlon Championships hadn't announced where the race was going to be at this point. And Marianne, my coach, had won it the year before, so knew she
Marianne's surname?
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
She won the year before, and she knew she was going back, and she thought it was going to be back in Alsdorf. And she said it's a great city, or it's not definitely not a city, great town, if that. Easy to get to. I'll be going anyway. You should enter your time. There's not that many in your age group that have already entered, so you're likely to get a spot. And I thought, whatever, like maybe I'll get a spot, possibly I'll get a spot. Fast forward to, I think, the sunny day in December, if I remember correctly, because I was about to go out for a surprisingly glorious blue sky run and got this text with a screenshot from the website with a Q next to my name, and I'd got a place. So I thought, smashing, that's really, really very exciting. Game on. So that was the Middle Distance Duathlon Championships, and it was in April. Didn't think that I was going to get any triathlon because it was so oversubscribed. Um, but I'll come back to that in a second. So went out to Alsdorf in April and had trained well, had had quite a lot going on personally, so I didn't really have the training block I was hoping for. Um, that said, I tried hard and I'd done a lot of winter turboing, so I knew that my cycling legs were okay. didn't have time to sort out a TT bike, didn't have, didn't have the right kit, got my age group race suit, that first of all, fundamental, second of all, 90% of the reason that I wanted to do this thing in the first place. And went out there. My parents and sister came out to support, which was
Oh,
brilliant.
nice.
And just again, what a lovely community of age group races. And a few things happened during that race. I knew that I had to pace it well and I shouldn't try and go out too far. The first time, with having Marianne there in the race at the same time, I knew that I was not going to be watched because she was way ahead of me. But I knew that there was someone there to say, well, you went out a bit too quickly. So pace the first run exactly as I wanted to, which was brilliant. But I had this moment coming into the first sort of sweeping turn of the run course where the course was lined with flags, and I just saw everyone's kit, Belgium, Netherlands, France, Spain, Germany, Great Britain. And I thought, this is actually happening. This is very cool. And then the German commentator said, here comes Lucas of Great Britain. And I just thought, that's me. And that is a moment I will never, ever forget. It was just absolutely spectacular. So, absolutely loved the race, gave it everything. I didn't really have any expectations because I'd never done a duathlon before. I didn't really know what was
Yeah.
going to happen.
So you'd never done a duathlon before, ever?
No,
Wow.
no,
That's
it's a
that's
triathlon without a
hilarious.
swim, right? There's a lot less faff.
Yes, there's no wetsuit, is there? That's for
No,
sure.
no wetsuit,
But
no
just
mask
from a
on.
but just from a racing point of view, I mean, like hiking and then running, you sort of know because you do it triathlon, so you're used to those jelly legs.
Yeah,
But running and then getting on the bike and then running again, it's like I said to you before, it's hard. So, and you'd never done one before, and yeah, chapeau.
thanks. Yeah, I mean it was brilliant. I loved it. I will do more. I think duathlon could be my strongest sport because I've just decided it. Um, but it is, I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was middle distance, so 10, 60, 10. And didn't necessarily love all of the last run,
Mm.
but I loved it enough that I kept going. I know my pacing was off, and I remember finishing and being quite delighted, but also the first thing I said to Marianne was, don't look at my pacing, or at least don't look at it today. Let's celebrate first.
Yeah.
And a collection of us GB lot were in the finishers tent getting gulping water and chomping on watermelon. And then they just said, and European duathlon champion 35-39 is Alice Lucas.
Mhm.
And Marianne and I just looked at each other and were like, well, that's me. And I thought, no, that definitely didn't happen. Like, can't have done. And she was like, somebody get someone a phone. So someone's husband passed his phone through the thing, and there it was in black and white that I'd won. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So we celebrated for a couple of hours, and then it transpired before the medal ceremony, thankfully, that the actual winner of my category had finished 35 minutes before, and her timing chip had failed. So they didn't know she'd finished. 35 minutes
Okay.
is quite a big margin. There was no photo finish. There was no chance I was beating her. Ex-pro, so I'll take it. Um, so I came second, which
Brilliant.
it was a fun podium for my first ever age group
That's
race.
amazing, though,
It
because
was it
we've
was
just talked about you not doing a duathlon previously, and then you end up with a silver medal. That's at your first race. It's just like, yeah. So,
yeah,
and we've also just said about your potential. That just underlines your potential. And one other thing I was going to say, I bet your dad was so proud.
he was so chuffed.
Yeah.
He he he's proud anyway, but for
No,
him to
but
be there,
but being a triathlete himself,
yeah, exactly
he
that.
more than anybody else, he would get it, wouldn't he?
He did, and I think there might have been a tear in his eye when he gave
Yeah,
the
I
hug
bet
at
it
the end.
was.
He was wearing, we have a really fun frog hat at the club. He wore it the whole time with his cowbell. And he said to me afterwards, it was a bit small, that hat. It was quite tight for the 3.5 hours you were out, but he did not take it off. Yes, and for them to be able to sit in the auditorium and watch the podium was really, really cool.
Memories, isn't it? It's what I always say. All these things, yeah, we do it and we do it because we love it, but it's all about making memories and it takes you to places where you would never go and your family can come with you and watch you. And, again, racing with your coach. How cool is that? That's
Yeah.
so cool. And having that experience there in your actual race is just, yeah, you can't buy that, can you?
No, you can't. It's
Oh,
awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. So what happened? What happened next then?
So I've actually not raced since, I don't think. I've got a middle distance next weekend, which I hoped was going to be a qualifier for next season, but I'm not sure my bike legs are there. We'll find out in a couple of weeks. But I got
Where's the race at?
back in the Cotswolds.
Right.
Cotswolds 113, fantastic race series. They do two races, one first weekend of June, one middle of July. Pretty similar, same lake, same run course, slightly different bike course. Beautifully organized. They're great for novices. They have, nervous swimmer caps if you're a nervous swimmer. Could not speak highly enough of 113 events.
That's cool. I've
Um,
never heard of a nervous swimmer cap.
they're brilliant. I think they have 20 or 30 for each race. So they're very much, they are only if the idea is that you need to stand out. Everybody can't
Yeah,
wear
yeah,
one. But
yeah.
when I mean, I didn't thankfully need one, but when I heard that, I thought actually that's such a lovely thing.
That is, yeah, that's so
It's a
cool.
different colour cap.
Yeah,
They've got so many paddle boarders and canoeists in the lake. They've got so many marshals with so much enthusiasm, and it's one of the best organised, friendliest races, and well priced, I would say, in the in the calendar. For me, it's handy because it's reasonably local, but also I'd never hesitate to recommend it. I absolutely love it.
cool. And I
Um,
love that well priced because I do a video called the penalty box, and it's a bit like room 101 for triathlon, where
yeah,
things that annoy me go into the penalty box. Just a
yeah,
laugh. I just
yeah, love
and
that.
one of the things was race prices. And what got my back up was the recent race at the Outlaw trying to qualify for Germany next year, the sprint
Mhm.
triathlon, £125 for that race. And I just, you know, so anyway, I'm digressing, but yeah, I love going to local and grassroots events
Yeah,
uh,
me
for
too.
that reason. Well, one, to support them, but two, you feel as if you're getting value for money.
You do, and it's an incredible. There's a lot of effort. This is not a roads closed race. I'll say that because I know roads closed is very expensive, but they're careful about where they put it and what time it's on, and there's plenty of marshals, and you feel safe, and it's broadly traffic and pedestrian free run route. But compared to, I looked at the T100. I looked at trying to qualify for the T100 Worlds, um, and again to do London full distance, well, the full 100 distance was so expensive for the ticket. Plus, you have to spend 2 nights in London because you need to rack your bike the day before, which also means you need to drive to London, which means you need to find a hotel with parking. And I was thinking, I'm knocking on the door of 1,500 quid for this, and I may as well go and do the Spain one.
Yeah.
Because by the time I've flown my bike to Spain and had a holiday out of it, let's be frank,
Mm.
I'd rather and go doing a course in a country that I'm more interested in than, and I thought nothing against the T100 series. I love my maths brain loves the distance. Like in terms of just it 280 18, they're so round, it's so lovely. And I've heard they're brilliantly organized again, and I love watching the pro series,
Yeah.
but I think it is great to do local races. So that's next Sunday, and then I got a roll down spot to the European middle distance triathlon champs in Banyoles in Spain, mid-July. Sweaty, I expect.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of us from the club going out to do various events across the multi-sport weekend. So that will be fun.
Brilliant.
And then I've submitted my time for Abu Dhabi in November. That qualifier doesn't close until July, I don't think, but it's quite undersubscribed in my current age group, and that's long distance. So
Right.
that'll be interesting. I never tried it before. We'll definitely need a TT bike because from comfort, from a competition perspective, that's what I'm going to need to do. We'll need some of the Middle East conflict to perhaps have calmed down a tiny bit before the race might or might not happen. But as of right now, hoping to go out there and but I think next year could be a big duathlon year. I've automatically qualified for Alsdorf again or for the middle distance
Yeah, I was
again.
going to say you've got a PQ for that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm going to chuck my time in for the worlds just because they're bigger and they sound quite fun. My new goal is to be world champion. I'll say that unapologetically because my goal was to qualify and then compete. and why not have something big and
Why
audacious
not?
in the
Absolutely.
box? So
Whatever gets you going, that's the thing,
yeah,
isn't it?
and you've got to go to the Worlds to win at the Worlds, and they're in Canada. That's always somewhere I fancied going to. So
Well, the World Championships are a complete step up, you know, as you can imagine,
yeah,
from the Europeans. The Europeans is a great way to introduce yourself
yeah,
to that sort of side of racing, but the the whole experience is just another level. Yeah, and yeah, why not? If you can,
yeah.
give it a go.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep trying.
But again, it's about now we've got to the decision where we'll go and try and qualify for places that we want to go on holiday.
Yeah,
And that's our mindset. So we didn't want to go to Canada. It wasn't somewhere on our radar. If we were going to do long haul, we'd prefer San Francisco or somewhere like that,
yeah,
or New Zealand or whatever.
yeah.
So it's not for us, but we are going to Abu Dhabi if it takes place,
Okay.
because Mrs. C, she's team manager for the
Oh,
Alpathon.
awesome. Oh, cool.
And we were actually in Qatar, because that was the inaugural T100 for age group
Yeah, yeah.
last year. And she managed that team. She's not managing that team anymore, but
Okay.
they didn't have anybody to manage it because they didn't expect an uptake.
Yeah,
So yeah, we that's how we work it. And it's just like we said, it's about making memories. And we had a great time out in Qatar. Not
yeah.
somewhere we would ever plan on going.
No.
But it just takes you all over the world. So
Absolutely. And again, I've never really, I've been to the Middle East on a hop over on flights to Australia. That's the only reason I've ever been out there.
yeah,
And I would love to, I've got friends, a ex-colleague actually, who moved to Abu Dhabi. And the reason I can tell you that is because I see him cycling on his Strava. And it's just epic to see where you can go and what you can do.
yeah,
So I really hope it happens. I hope I get a place. And I've got some club mates doing the aquathlon. So hopefully, if all goes well, then she'll be captaining them.
yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, it's been an amazing story from start to finish, even though you've only like really just scratched the surface in this multi-sport lark, and I can see you going on to bigger and better things.
Thank you.
And I hope you do. And I'm going to follow your progress as I try and follow everybody's progress that's been on the podcast. And hopefully we'll meet in Abu Dhabi. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. I'd love
Uh,
that.
yeah, that would be really cool. So all that we've got left is some quick fire questions. And
Cool.
the first one is, what's your favorite bit of kit?
Ooh, my instinctive answer to that is my current road bike, but that's not a competitive piece of kit. So watch this space.
Okay. Everybody says the bike, by the way, because it's like, well, it's the thing you spend the most time on and usually the most money on, which you'll
Yeah.
find out about when you get a new TT bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Bracing myself for that.
Yeah. Um, what does a week of training look like for you at the moment?
Had a conversation about that this morning. It's currently looking like 6 days single sessions, but we're about to try some double days,
Okay.
double threshold days. So probably 2 days of doubling up, compounded with some or complemented by some easy single days. So hard run in the morning, hard bike in the evening, or vice versa, with the swims sandwiched in other days and some super easy runs.
So do you think this is a bit I'm digressing again. Do you think at some point you will focus on triathlon or duathlon, or you're going to try and blend the two together? Because I think to get better at certain things, people come into the sport and they're usually good at really, good at one thing because that's what they've
Yeah,
done as a kid.
yeah,
So that sort of gets put on the back burner and they focus on the other two that they've not done as much. Whereas yours is running, isn't it? I guess. So where do you
yeah,
see yourself? Because swimming can take up quite a lot of time, can't it? Getting to the pool and that.
yeah. I suspect at this stage, let's see if I'm right in 5 years' time, that I'll become more competitive in duathlon and keep doing triathlon for fun.
Yeah.
I suspect. Unless I magically find some technique in the pool, which I'm just searching for every
Yeah,
week.
yeah. Well, I've been doing it 12 years and I haven't found a mine yet. So
It's impossible.
it's, I've always said, if you haven't swam from like 4, 5, 6, then
Yeah,
technique is so hard to come by
yeah,
yeah, when you're new to it. But
yeah,
we keep trying. And
absolutely.
the best bit of what is the best bit of advice that you've been given?
Honestly, I think have fun. I think sometimes you forget to have fun.
Hmm.
And if everything's falling apart and your race doesn't go to plan, the one thing you've got left is that you can still enjoy it. And no one can take that away from you. And that happened to me actually. I was trying to PB the half last September in a local course that I know is quite flat, um, and not too popular, and it just a beautiful country roads. And I knew it was a PB course. Um, and nothing went right from the first couple of kilometers. I got stitched, my shorts weren't fitting properly. It was nothing worked. And I thought right at the beginning, I was disappointed, but I just thought, but I still get to run. I'm outside in the countryside with all these other athletes. I can still have a really good day. So whenever I find myself stressed that something isn't going to plan, this voice always comes back up here and says, have fun. I think, yeah, that's actually that we forget that sometimes when we're trying a bit hard.
That's a great mantra, isn't it? To have that
Yeah.
as a mantra. And I
Yeah.
know we're competitive, um, but I think to have that when, like you just said, when things aren't going right, it's a great mantra to have. And just looking at your email, I made a note of certain points, and you talk about unlocking that mindset and psychology, um, to allow you to believe that you could do what you've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Have you had any like help in that, or have you looked into it yourself? Because it's a massive part of the sport, this mental side. Just
Yeah.
getting to the start line,
Yeah.
it is a huge belief, that belief in yourself. Have you delved into it?
Um, yes and no. I love reading and listening to Steve Peters. I find his work really interesting. Always have done. You're going to bring out the chimp paradox.
You know what? I was really disappointed with that book.
Were you?
Yeah, I was.
Why?
I don't know. I think I was just expecting too much.
I was expecting nothing. I can't remember even why I bought it. I think because I knew he was the psychologist of the cycling team, and I just thought be an interesting read. Um, but I've heard him guest on a few podcasts, and like the snippets that I hear, I think I've really enjoyed. I do love the psychology of the human brain. Um, I've also worked with a therapist for various things, and I'm really open and engaged about talking about it. And she actually has cited Steve Peters working with Chris Hoy quite a lot, to the point where I've not seen the interview, but there's an interview where Chris says um, he got to the point where he was so focused on what he was doing rather than what was going on around him that he has forgotten that he's at the Olympics. So he can be he's like, I'm just cycling around in circles. That's all I'm doing right now. I'm just cycling around in circles. I think that's very interesting. My therapist is also just very helpful for untangling things when things get tough. But also, I think I've got a psychological resilience, and I found this out in marathon training years ago because it's really dull. It's actually quite boring, especially on your solo long runs.
That's why I don't do long distance, because I just couldn't. My capacity doesn't allow me to do it mentally. I just can't.
I find it really fascinating. But I unlocked that years ago, don't know how, by just there's a beautiful railway path that connects Bath and Bristol. Um, it's stunning. I was cycling on it this morning, absolutely beautiful, but it is the same the whole way. Slightly different, trees, hills, beautiful. So if you're doing your long run on there and you're doing an out and back on your own, the monotony gets real. I never listen to music. I don't listen to podcasts. I just
I'm gonna say
run.
I can recommend some good podcasts.
No way. I've always just found being alone with my brain is the most powerful thing you can do. And actually, because of that, that's another reason I thought middle and long distance would be
Yeah.
the one for me because I know I can unlock that. Same with London. When I was injured, I thought either my brain runs this race or we don't run this race at all. And so I've not done a huge amount of work around it, but I do think I've found a place where I can. take mental pain away.
Mm.
And I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint it to a certain place in life, but it's definitely, I don't give up. I
Mm.
am very determined. And when I've set myself a goal, I'll do as much as I possibly can to make it happen.
Well, that's going to be massive, going forward and doing what, trying to achieve what you want to achieve. That is, having that ability is going to be massive. So
Yeah,
good, good.
I hope so.
Yeah, I just spotted that on your email and I thought, yeah, I'll ask you about that. And finally, we've pretty much touched on the short-term goals. What's your long-term goal?
Stay fit, stay healthy, physically and mentally. And I think this is a great sport to do that. But if I were to say some of the most inspiring people I saw in Germany in that podium awards ceremony were the 80, 84, 85, 89 category. All of the women in 70, 74 beat me. Isn't that absolutely epic?
Yes.
How incredibly
Yeah.
powerful. These women who are 30 plus years older than me are faster than me over the same distance. And that's really, really exciting. Not just because of their speed, but because of their fitness and the maintenance and what they must be doing and how well they've looked after their bodies. And chatting to some of them afterwards and just seeing these people walk up the steps onto the podium and I was inspired by them. So long-term goal, inspire somebody else like they inspired me when I'm at an age where physiology says that maybe you shouldn't still be able to do this, but you damn well can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've had loads of them on the podcast, male and female, and I'm like you, that would be my if I was asked the question, that would be my answer because they
Yeah,
are just so inspiring. They're
yeah,
amazing. And I want to be like them rather than and I said this on the last podcast, rather than be stuck in a care home.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or just stuck on my sofa.
Yeah.
TV is fine, but I'd much rather be outside.
Yeah. 100%. Well, listen, good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Great to
you.
meet you.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We've had a great time, really nice chat,
Loved
and
it.
yeah, just good luck with it all.
Thanks so much.
And there she goes. She's come a long way in such a short time, and her potential is yet unrealised, that's for sure. Hope you enjoyed Alice's journey, and to be honest, it's only just starting, isn't it? She's got many years ahead of her, and she hasn't even scratched the surface of her potential on the bike, especially the TT bike, which she's going to source. So, yeah, thank you for listening to this episode once again. If you are an age grouper yourself and you'd like to come on the podcast, just drop us an email at agegroupmultisportpodcast@gmail.com and come on like Alice did and inspire others with your story. You can follow us on the socials. We're on Facebook at Richard Joseph Conway. We are on Instagram at amp_podcast. We have our own YouTube channel that you may be listening to this podcast on right now. And if you haven't discovered our YouTube channel, please do head over there and you can see loads of different videos as well as all the podcasts on the platform. And the videos consist of my training and racing, and well, this year it's all been about the rehab. But we also do have the penalty box feature that we do, where it's like Room 101, where we chuck things that we don't like from triathlon into the penalty box. But the main gist is my week-to-week training and rehab and racing as a 59-year-old age group athlete. And then lastly is the 1001 Triathlon Tips book, available on Amazon. And if you're a Kindle user, I believe you'll be able to download that for free. And if you do have a look at it, please do leave us a comment and a review, because that really does help the algorithm send it out to more like-minded people. So once again, thank you very much for listening to our latest episode of the Age Group Multisport podcast. Don't forget, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.
The